Hello students, welcome to another lecture of atomic structure. You might have remembered that in the yesterday's class we stopped at electronic configurations being assigned to all the orbit irrespective of the atoms. We have seen what is the order of increasing energies of electronic configuration. By which diagram? By Moeller diagram. According to Moeller diagram, who will be having the least energy and who will be having the highest energy, and the increasing order also we have seen by Moeller diagram. Now applying the same order, let us start filling the electrons starting from the first atom or starting from the simplest atom. Who is the simplest atom? Hydrogen atom is the simplest atom, right? So now how many number of electrons are present in hydrogen atom? There will be only one, right? So that one electron, where will it go? It will go in 1s1. This is the electronic configuration. You can write electronic configuration by this way, or there is another way of writing electronic configuration by boxes. S means only one orbital, only one electron in the orbital is this, right? This is the simplest atom. Going to the next atom, which is helium. Helium has how many electrons? Helium has a total of 2 electrons. Therefore, where will the second electron go? Will it go to the next orbital? No, it cannot go without filling the ground energy orbitals. You cannot go to the higher energy orbitals according to above. Right? The second electron gets paired in s orbital only. Or you can also write, I will not be repeating this, I will be writing both this. Now this s orbital is paired. Can you add any more electron in this s orbital? No, already it is paired. There is no possibility of the third electron, right? Coming to the next atom, which is lithium, it has a total of 3 electrons. Where will the third electron go now? It will go to the next orbital having higher energy than 1s. So who comes next? Next is 2s. So 2 electrons are over, the third electron goes here, right? What will be the orbital diagram? Here, and the third electron is here. The next element is beryllium, and the fourth electron goes to the same 2s by getting paired. You cannot move the fourth electron in the next higher orbital unless pairing this lower energy orbital. 2s 2. What will be the box diagram? 1s2, 2s2, right? Going to the fifth atom, who comes after beryllium is boron. 1s2 is the same, 2s2 is the same. Where will the fifth electron go now? After 2s2, what comes next is 2p orbitals, right? 2p orbitals. 4 electrons are over, 1 electron should go to 2p1. In 2p orbital, there are 3 types of orbitals, right? This is the same, this is also same. 4 electrons are over, 5th electron goes to this. There are 3 p orbitals. In which p orbital should I write the electron? Here. So this is 2px, 2py and 2pz. So 2px has how many electron? 1. 2p, just 2p you cannot write, because in 2p there are 3, 2px, 2py, 2pz. Exactly which 2p also you have to mention, which is 2px, having how many electron? 1. Right? The next orbital, the next element is carbon, which has 1s2 same, 2s2 same, 2p, one more electron is added, it is no longer 2p1, it becomes 2p2. Right? How you will write that 2p2? This is same, this is same, this is same. Where should I add the next electron? Should I pair this electron here? No. What does the Hund's rule says? You cannot do pairing of electrons in the orbitals of the same shell without giving one electron to each. After giving one electron only, if you are left with electrons, you should do pairing, otherwise pairing should not be done first. Pairing should be done only after giving one orbitals, right? So now this is 2px and 2py. After carbon, who comes next is nitrogen. 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 2 was there, one more electron is added, it becomes 2p3. This is same, and where will the third electron go? You should not pair the third electron, you should give one electron here. Now all the three orbitals got one electron each. The next electron if you add can be paired here, right? After nitrogen, who comes? Oxygen. 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. Now this is same, and the fourth electron of this will now be paired after giving one electron each, right? After oxygen, who comes next? Fluorine. 1s2, 2s2, 2p4 was there, now it becomes 2p5. This is same, and the fifth electron is paired in middle. Fluorine. After fluorine, who comes next? Neon. 1s2, 2s2, 2p5 was there, it becomes 2p6. One, two, three. Whenever you are having 6 electrons, the way to write that 6 electrons, you should not do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What you should always do, even in a hurry also, if you are filling the electrons, your habit of filling the electrons should be this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ultimately you will get paired, but the way you fill the electrons should be by following the rules only. You should write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? This is still neon. After neon, who comes next? Potassium. Potassium comes under lithium only. In lithium, 1s2, 2s1 was there. In lithium, what was there? 1s2, 2s1 was there. But in potassium, what you will get is, in sodium, what you will get after neon? Sodium will come. Sodium, what will be the configuration? 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s1, right? After 2p6, who comes? 3s1. So write 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 over. Next electron, where will it go? 3s1, right? Is it same as lithium? In lithium, 2s1 was the last orbital. Here 3s1 was the last orbital. After sodium, what will you have? Magnesium. In beryllium, you had 2s2 last, and in magnesium you will have 3s2 last. So the same continues. Boron, in the boron what you have was 2p1, and in the next also you will have 3p1, right? The same will be continued while filling the electron, right? This is normal electronic configuration. In these elements, everyone follows the same rule, but at one point you will see the violation of the rules, whether by Aufbau or Hund's or what is the next another rule? Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, Aufbau's rule and Pauli's exclusion principle. All these three can be violated in an exception. There is one exception to the electronic configuration, and that is called as abnormal electronic configuration or anomalous. Anomalous means not normal. Anomalous electronic configuration is shown by two elements. One is chromium and the other is copper. Why so? Let us see. Chromium has a total of 24 electrons and copper has a total of how many? 29 electrons. Shall we look at how to add that 24 electrons? Right. Starting from what? 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. How many over? 6, 2, 2, 10 over. Next 3s2, 3p6. 6, 8, 18 got over. Left with how many? 3s2, 3p6. 3d, 4 and 4s2, right? 2, 2, 6, 10 over 18, 19, 20 and 4. This is the electronic configuration of chromium. What is the electronic configuration of copper? 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d9, 4s2. Actually, chromium should have electronic configuration this and copper should have an electronic configuration of this. If we start going by each and every, you will understand why the electronic configuration is this. This is by following Moeller diagram only. You have to by heart the order from Moeller's diagram, then you will not be confused why 3p is followed by 3d and then 4s, right? It is by that diagram only which you should remember. Don't bring 4s first and 3d later, right? This is by this way only. So now, looking at this configuration, let us start filling in the boxes. 1, 2. 1, 2. All the rules are getting satisfied. Seems to be satisfied, right? But wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is also correct. 3s2 correct. 3p6 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 correct. After 3p6 what comes next? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many electrons total? 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, right? This is the electronic configuration which is supposed to be same. Let us do the same for copper also. I will not write boxes of 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. I will simply, because it is almost the same, already the same, let us do the same for 3d9 and 4s2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 4s2 box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3d9. Right? These two should be the electronic configuration of chromium and copper. But they will not have normal electronic configuration. They will have abnormal electronic configuration, or you can also call it as anomalous electronic configuration. Why? Because you will notice that the 3d orbitals, 3d subshell has a total of how many orbitals? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? If you give one electron to each orbital, if you give one electron to each d orbital, every one gets 1 electron each. It is called as partially filled d orbital. Exactly half electrons are there or not? If you give one electron to each, if you give 1 electron, if you bring 1 electron from here and put it here, what will it become? 3d5 and 4s1. If you do that, what happens? Now the d orbital became partially filled, means half filled. Half filled d orbitals it become. Half filled d orbital. Right? The same way, if you bring 1 electron from here to here, if you bring 1 electron from here to here, instead of writing 3d9, if you write 3d10, total number of electrons are not changing. You are simply bringing 1 electron from S into D inside. Now it is becoming 3d10, which is completely filled. Is it? Now, half filled d orbitals and completely filled d orbitals will always be very much stable. Electronic configuration is written always so that the atom or the element tries to be in the more stable form, right. So for them there is a chance to become more stable by taking the electron from here in itself, right. Therefore they will not lose that chance. So what will they do? They will take the electron, they will borrow the electron from 4s2 and brings it here. So what will happen? Electron is not going out of the atom, electron is not coming into the atom. The same electrons which was sitting in the s orbital is brought into d orbital, so that the d orbital becomes even more stable by acquiring half filled d orbital in which repulsions won't be that much. Half filled d orbitals and completely filled d orbitals will not have that much repulsion, right. Apart from these, the other configurations, whether it is d1, d2, d3, d4 or it is d6, d7, d8, d9, these have more repulsions compared to d5 and d10 because they are half filled and completely filled. Therefore atom always tries to achieve more stable configuration. To do so, what will they do? They will not borrow the electron from outside, they will simply borrow the electron from the next neighboring orbital. Who is neighboring orbital here? 4s. So instead of keeping two electrons with itself, what will it do? It will give an electron here, and the same is done for even copper. So these in all the periodic table, these two elements shows abnormal electronic configuration to become more stable. Please copy down this. So therefore we will move forward. Now the next topic of atomic structure which we have is photoelectric effect, which is very important for your 4 marks, right. And in the name itself you will understand what it means. Photo means light rays or light energy. Electric means electrons are coming out, right. Why will the electron come out? Is because of light. If the light rays fall on the surface of the metal, how will you represent light wave? If light falls on the surface of metal, light is represented as h mu. If the light falls on the surface of the metal, immediately within the fraction of second on the surface, whichever metal atoms are there, they will try to eject electrons, right, and the electrons are ejected out of that metal atoms. Immediately the moment light falls on the surface of the atom or on the surface of the metal, whichever atoms are on the surface will take that light, eject the electrons out, and that process is called as ejection of electrons because of light, or you can also call it as photoelectric effect. Why are the electrons coming out? It is only because of light. It is not because of the electrical energy you are giving. The electrons are coming out by nature or by light, right. Therefore it is called as a photoelectric effect, right. How much? And that electrons are coming out in the form of rays, right, and that electrons are coming out in the form of electromagnetic rays. What will be the frequency of these rays? Is how much light you are giving, that much electrons are ejecting out, and that will be the frequency of the electromagnetic rays which is coming out, right. If you give high energy photons, light has some particles called, light has small particles in it called as photons. If you are giving high energy photons in the sunlight, the frequency of this will be more and the number of electrons ejected out will be more, and therefore electromagnetic rays is also having high frequency, right. If you are giving light of lesser frequency, can the electrons eject out? Suppose there is a well, I am trying to push them towards me, and by stretching my hand I will give energy, minimum energy I should give, then only he is able to come out. If I give energy more than that, he will easily come out. If I am not able to give energy, even minimum energy also if I cannot give, can he come out of the well? No, he will remain there only. So that minimum energy which is compulsory for him to come out is called as a threshold energy, right? That energy which is minimum is called as a threshold energy, right? And to carry out the photoelectric effect, every metal has a minimum energy called as threshold energy. If that minimum energy is there, then only photoelectric effect can happen, otherwise it cannot happen. With that threshold energy, whatever frequency is there, that frequency is called as threshold frequency. Minimum frequency is minimum energy is threshold energy, and the minimum frequency of that photons is called as threshold frequency. If you give that much energy, he will try to come out. More than that, he will easily come out of the metal surface. Who is he here? Electron. Minimum energy, suppose 10 kilocals I am giving. Less than 10 if I give, it's of no use. He cannot even try to come out of the metal surface. Minimum how much I should give? From 10 kilocalories, the electron will think to come out of the surface. So what I should do? I should give from 10 more energy, 11, 12, 13. If I give energy greater than threshold energy, then only photoelectric effect can happen, otherwise it cannot happen. And that threshold energy is fixed for different metals. Like we have so many metals, some metals are highly electropositive, in which threshold energy is minimum, even 2 kilocalories or 5 kilocalories is also sufficient. But there are some metals which are not that electropositive. For them the threshold energy will be very high, like gold, platinum, they are the metals who are not much electropositive, right? This is just an example. So for every metal threshold energy is fixed, and that much energy is mandatory for photoelectric effect to happen, right? To give the relation, Einstein gave an equation called as H mu. This is the energy, and H mu naught. This is threshold energy. The energy which you give should always, this is the energy which you should give. This is the energy which is the minimum energy of the metal, right? So if you take the difference, you will get the energy which is required, right? This is called as work function. This much work you should do. This is called as threshold. It should be more than threshold, this much. The difference between them is called as work function, right? And this is the relation given by Einstein to demonstrate that threshold energy is minimum, but that threshold energy also cannot carry photoelectric effect. It should be more than that. Okay, this is photoelectric effect. And if you remember, in the limitations of Bohr's model, we have discussed that Bohr tried to give explanation of arrangement of electrons in the atom by taking simplest atom called as hydrogen atom, and he showed the line spectra of hydrogen atom, and we have seen the lines like Lyman, Balmer, Paschen, bracket, Pfund, right? But if you remember, we have seen the limitations of Bohr also, right? Like he was unable to explain the line spectra of complex atoms and therefore complex molecules. Similarly, one more limitation also which we should have discussed there, let me relate it here, right? And that is Stark effect and Zeeman effect. That was also the limitation of Bohr. Bohr was not able to explain complex atom spectra. Bohr was not able to explain complex molecule spectra, right? And another spectra he was not able to explain is called as Stark effect and Zeeman effect. What is Stark effect? Stark effect is in whichever atoms, whether it is hydrogen, in whichever element or molecule, suppose hydrogen or complex atoms like carbon, nitrogen, any atom will give its line spectra in the spectroscopy, right? that line spectra which comes out will interact with electric field as well as magnetic field. The line spectra which you get in the spectroscopy interacts with electromagnetic field, right? So when it interacts with electromagnetic field, what happens is called as Stark effect and Zeeman effect. That interaction of the line spectra with electric field and magnetic field, Bohr was not able to explain, right? If the line spectra interacts with electric field, it is called as Stark effect. If the line spectra interacts with magnetic field, it is called as Zeeman effect, right? If you change the definition by changing electric into magnetic, magnetic into electric, it's wrong. In the exam, they won't ask you what are the limitations of Bohr model. What they will instead ask is what is Stark and Zeeman effect. That is the reason why we are discussing now. What is Stark and Zeeman effect? Is Stark means electric. In the Stark, is there any E? I am telling you the way to remember what is Stark effect and what is Zeeman effect. In the Stark, is there any E? No. As there is no E, it should be electric field. In the Zeeman, is there any E? Yes. As there is already E, electric should not come. What should come? Magnetic field. The interaction of the line spectra with magnetic field is called as Zeeman effect. Interaction of the line spectra with electric field is called as Stark effect, right? By this we have completed atomic structure, and in the next class we will go to the next chapter called as periodic classification of the elements. Thank you.